I'm going to talk about pulse dosing because it's something I was never taught, and it's now quite a feature of the way I practice in my clinic. And I believe that some herbs are either safer or either have a greater impact or a more sustained activity when they're not prescribed all the time. And this it's interesting when you look at the history, this concept of pulse dosing in the Western herbal context might have been introduced by the Soviet scientists when they were working with Eleutherococcus for its adaptogenic effects. And they suggested it should, for example, I've seen variations on this, but my take is 3 weeks on, 1 week off. And so we do have, if you like, some prior uh, history in that regard with pulse dosing. But I think what gelled pulse dosing for me as a really useful therapeutic protocol was with my work, my development of what we call the bowel flora protocol or the GI flora balance protocol, and that was based on the work of Heinz Zelstra. So for part of the week, you can vary it, but let's say for part of the week, for 2 days, you're going to use herbs that are weeding, that are going to reduce bacteria that might be dysbiotic. And then for the remainder of, say, the week, 5 days, 4 days, whatever, you're going to do feeding and healing and maintenance of the gut. And then you'll alternate that for, who knows, 6 times, 10 times over a period of time to build up an effect. But also I began to use pulse dosing with, for example, myrrh, because myrrh is a very strong immune herb, and sometimes you can get allergic reactions to it. But I also pulse dose with other strong herbs, again, to minimize any risk of side effects. So in the case of myrrh, I generally give it for about 5 or 6 days at a time, and then we'll break for, say, 5, 6, 7 days and apply it again. And that way, the risk of allergy is much, much lowered. And I believe quite often the pulsing can also enhance its clinical efficacy. Another herb I like to pulse dose, and this is for different reasons, and it's an efficacy reason and a safety reason, is the Artemisia annua, the herb that contains artemisinin, the antimalarial compound, but it has much broader uses than that, and is also known as sweet wormwood, or its Chinese name, forgive my pronunciation, Changhao. Now, what was shown in pharmacokinetic studies that when you dose with artemisinin, you get a strong detoxification reaction from the liver to clear the artemisinin out that builds up over a period of 5, 6 days. So if you take artemisinin continuously for, say, 7 days, by the end of that 7 days, you've induced your liver detox enzymes that work on this molecule so much that you get very little, relatively speaking, in your bloodstream. So taking it continuously beyond 7 days renders it clinically useless. We also have this recent finding that in a few rare cases, you're getting this idiosyncratic hepatotoxicity from Artemisia annua. Now, I've never seen it, but I believe one reason I've never seen any hint of it actually is because of my use of the pulse dosing. So you give the Artemisia annua for a week, you break for a week, and then again for a week. And in that week's break, the liver enzymes go back down. So you're going to get high levels when you start it again in the bloodstream for its clinical efficacy. But you also give the liver a break and allow it to reset. And I believe substantially reduce any risk of this idiosyncratic hepatotoxicity that's been observed with the continuous, often for several months, use of Artemisia annua.